Hello.
Hello. How are
Hello,
you?
everyone. I'm okay. I'm good. Thank you. How are
So,
you?
I'm very good. And I can see
Perfect.
you, and can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you perfectly.
Good.
I hear you.
And good.
Yeah.
And can we ask that anybody who's just starting to join us in the chat can oh, I've got a thumbs up from Sandra. Is everyone seeing both Paul and I okay on their screens and hearing us as well,
Mm,
obviously? Everyone hear us okay? Yep. Brilliant. We've had a few thumbs up.
perfect.
Okay, well, let me just check the time. I think it's probably about time. People are still joining, which is great. So as they just start to join, shall we start to do
Thank you, Wilson.
a few introductions? Do you know Wilson? I'm
No, but
sure his story's still...
making it clear that you can hear us. Thank you.
Yeah. No, because we did one with Wilson a few weeks back. Wilson's
Oh,
fantastic. No, well, we can undertake introductions if you like.
I love
So
that.
we're here today, and as people start to join, we're here today to, I think it's our fourth or our fifth in the Instagram Live Big Drawn to Conversation series, and I am extremely excited to talk to Paul today.
Me too. Excited to speak to
So
you.
at the moment, people are still starting to join. They all come in dribs and drabs usually, Paul. So should we
Fine.
sort of make a general start? So
Yeah.
should we start? I mean, the reason that I was really excited to meet Paul, but also to invite him into what we're going to talk about today, is that he exudes passion. He exudes passion for drawing and
Thank
art.
you.
I mean, apart from the fact that he's incredibly ambitious and erudite, and I hope you don't mind me saying it, Paul, but you are only 19, and I don't say that as an old lady mummy. I'm not being. I am a mummy, and I am old, but I'm not doing it in a. You're incredibly mature, your
Thank
age,
you.
and I think that comes through your work and how you present and handle yourself.
Thank you.
And your work is absolutely beautiful.
I really
And
appreciate that.
we met, didn't we? We met the Big Draw. So the Big Draw is based at Trinity Boy Wharf
Yeah.
in East London. So fantastic site. If people haven't visited it, probably I'd say the last properly undeveloped bit of Docklands, and it's quite quirky, fantastic. We are delighted that we have our office headquarters there, and the lovely people that run it are fantastic. They're very collaborative and
Amazing.
always coming up with new. Yeah, I mean, you know how lovely it is.
Yeah.
And there's quite a big drawing presence on site, because not only is there the Big Draw's headquarters there, 2 doors down, there's also the Royal Drawing School.
The Royal Drawing School.
And there's also the Trinity Boy Wharf Drawing Prize, who have their thing there as well. So there's loads of other things going on. But that was basically where we met. And so as people start to join, I'm Kate, I'm the director of the Big Draw. And I'm talking to Paul today. We met on site where our office is based.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with Paul and his work and his general outlook on life. So
Thank you.
should we kick off, Paul? So
yeah.
We decided earlier, didn't we, that we wanted to sort of start from the beginning. And as you know, and as people who follow the Big Draw know a bit more about our work generally know, we're very much around, it's not just about the output, it's about the process of making a mark, of drawing. It's about visual thinking, communication, across different sectors. So we're not necessarily just always talking about traditionally aesthetically beautiful drawings, although they might be. It's about communication, isn't it? It's sharing a story and bringing people in, and how that works across all the different sectors. So we always love it when I think we see it a lot, that I think having a creative background, I think if your family are open and are very creative, I think it definitely hasn't. I mean, it certainly did in my childhood when I was growing up. I mean, I grew up, when I'm one of 3 girls, I'm the oldest.
I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest. You're 6, I think, aren't you?
Yeah. So all my half of my siblings are really creative. All my older sisters. My brother was creative. Like, he loved drawing a bit when he was younger. Then he kind of came out of it a bit. But majority of my siblings are creative. So I feel like that's where I gauge inspiration and the passion for drawing, of passion for art. Especially, even my mum is really creative and still is. So I got it from her, like when she would be on the phone or when she would be doing something, she would always be doing a sketch on the side or doing a little drawing, just doodling, but it would just really
Yeah,
inspire me.
yeah.
Definitely.
I think it's incredibly influential on our
Yeah.
in those early years. I mean, similarly, I grew up. I'm one of three girls, and my father worked abroad all the
Mm.
time. I mean, he used to come home 2 weeks in the summer and 2 weeks at Christmas, and that was it. That was it, literally.
Mm.
And so my mum wanted to go to art school. She was incredibly creative, but I'm afraid, she was in her mid-70s now. She was sadly of the era that. I'm afraid that nice girls didn't go to art school.
Mm.
They were encouraged instead to go into secretarial college or nursing. And so even though she got offered a scholarship and a bursary at the local art school, her parents wouldn't let her go and told her it wasn't appropriate for a nice girl, whatever a nice girl means.
Mm.
And she ended up going into nursing. But I think her whole, as we were growing up as three girls with no father there, I think for her it was make, do, and mend. Making, doing, drawing, being creative, keeping the kids occupied, not having a lot of money. So, knitting your clothes. We've got all the 70s home knits going on. All that. And drawing and scribbling. And I think that sort of creativity has a big effect on you as a child.
Definitely, yeah.
Incredibly influential. You don't really realise until you're older that how influential it is, and clearly that was similar to that. So
I feel like
I can a little bit about that.
Yeah, I can relate to you in a way that my mum, she wanted to study embroidery and art when she was younger as well, but just the need to look after, to make ends meet, and like to provide and look after the family meant that she had to like not reject but leave that part of her and just focus on family and focus on looking after us as a single mother too. So, or not too, but as a single mother, she had to look after us single-handedly.
Your mum was a single mother as well, doing
Yeah, she's still a single mother now. Yeah, so that made her like have to leave that behind and focus on us to the point where she would have to like do like to release that kind of art within her. She'll doodle and she'll do all these little things that will be an outlet for her. So I feel like that's where I was inspired by her, and I felt that if I do have the opportunity, and if I do have the the resources to explore this part of me and explore my creativity, I should take it full-handedly because it just wouldn't be, I just wouldn't respect that about myself not doing it if I have the opportunity. So yeah.
Yeah, enormous. I mean, I remember when I first spoke to you, I think I felt very connected in terms of our mothers. Yeah. I mean, my mum's a little bit annoying sometimes. I love her dearly.
All mothers can be a little bit annoying. I love her dearly,
but a bit annoying. But incredibly creative, and I think she would agree now that she's in her mid-70s that it was a terrible shame at the time that women weren't encouraged more in that way to do what they wanted, and they were pushed into industries and jobs that they didn't really want to do. But anyway, there we go. So yes, I think that's been a big influence for you, hasn't it?
Definitely.
So let's if we sort of go through the different stages, because I've got loads of notes that we've pulled together between us from over the last few sessions. Is it fair to say that your passion for drawing, for art, for sketching, making, doing, painting, that was already evident even at primary school?
Yeah, I feel like as I went into primary school, what I was more attracted to was the creative subjects and the subjects that needed me to use that part of my ability, that part of my brain to like draw, to mark make, to create images. And that's what I did. So I feel like teachers did notice that when I was in primary school, and they kind of fed that in me, and they kind of watered that kind of seed basically. And like if there was opportunities for me to paint for a school assembly or for a school mass, I would be given that opportunity to create a little painting, little like abstract painting, I would say, because they weren't the best, but I would paint like Jesus on the cross for a school mass, and I always have flashbacks to that, and it just reminds me where I started, and it makes me appreciate teachers who actually feed into students that are creative and do want to go through that path.
And that was a
definitely.
primary school, wasn't it? That was
Primary
already.
school, yeah.
I mean,
Primary school.
I think, as you know, I mean, you know that the Big Draw, we do lots of advocacy and lobbying around. Well, about what's happening in the arts sector, but also within the education sector in terms of provision and the subject balance, the lack of parity between subjects, and all these sorts of things. I mean, my personal view is that it does start at primary school,
Definitely.
and that you do have to capture their imagination at that early stage, and that even at primary school, young people, the kids, they deserve the opportunity, I think, to understand more about the range of career options that are open to them.
Yeah.
And they deserve to have individuals who are aspirational, knowledgeable, on the button with what's happening out there, to be able to come and because I mean at primary school, tech changes so quickly. You have to bring people in to talk about that. But I think it is important it starts at primary school.
Yeah.
And
even
then went on to secondary school. And
yeah. I feel like between secondary school and primary school was a part like where I was finding how I learned and finding that I did have to do things very differently to other students, and I did learn very differently to other students. Not to the point that I realized how to manage that, but I was at a point where I was really confused in school and I was really struggling. So like in primary school, I was given extra help and all these things that they believed I needed because I was learning pretty slowly compared to other students because I just didn't receive the way they taught, I just didn't receive as well as other students. So I was given all these like weird little things like computers, laptops, and like bright lights to try and help me learn, but none of it worked because I think they just didn't understand that when like dyslexia and dyspraxia and things like that come into the conversation, like these students need a very different way of learning, and these students need like they're very visual. I would say I was really visual, and that was how I learned best. So taking that into secondary school, I still had the kind of same issue. Year seven, year eight, like, year nine, to a point where like I wasn't getting the best grades, and it's weird because now, like you will compare me like, oh wow, he's a brilliant student, he has these grades, but I wasn't always getting those types of grades. I was considered to be a very slow learner, etc. So finding myself more in secondary school was really, really beneficial to me, and finding myself through art definitely, and the teachers that supported it and the teachers that told me this is a good thing to do, this is a good subject to do, and this is worthwhile, this is worth your time, and you don't have to go and you don't have to be uh do medicine or be a doctor, and you don't have to be all these other subjects that are so forced onto students. That wasn't for me. So yeah, there's teachers, if I mention them, um Madam Bajra was my art teacher in year seven all the way to year 10, and
I'm
she
going to track them down. I'm going to try and track these two. We talked about it before, didn't we, Paul?
yeah, we did.
It's my
So
mission, and I'm very good at all the spy stuff. So
mm,
I will track them down because they were very influential. They were very helpful for you, weren't they?
very, yeah,
At a time where you were wanting to nurture that talent, and you had those two teachers that did help.
definitely Madam Bajra and Madam Jones. So, but because I went into art first, less than not graphics. The teacher was Madam Bajra, and she supported me in like giving me the kind of confidence to study art when I got further down in secondary school. And she suggested me to study fine art for GCSEs, or art and art and design is what they call it. So that was kind of a big jump for me because um it's like when you're in a family, my family is really creative, but in other households you do have the pressure to study subjects like science, or study subjects like
The STEM
English, or study
subject.
the
Yeah.
STEM subjects.
Yeah.
And my school were focused on STEM subjects. That's what they were known for. So they weren't really known for art. They weren't known for graphics or textiles.
And
They were known.
well, we don't need to say it here, but I obviously I know,
Yeah,
and it's a really good school, isn't it? It's a very academic school.
yeah, yeah.
It's great, but I think it's fair to say it probably prioritises
The
STEM
STEM
subjects
subjects.
over more creative
Mm,
subjects, as do many schools. Is the honest truth.
mm, yeah.
So you were
which,
lucky for those two teachers to
yeah, I
advocate
was very
for arts
lucky,
in the school.
definitely. And I feel like if they weren't there, I could be doing a completely different subject right now. So I do really appreciate those teachers. I think that's really important for there to be teachers that do support students that are more creative and more artistic and more the visual learners. So
The visual
yeah,
learning, we hear this all the time. We hear all the time. Well, number one, this whole thing around actually, well, the number of children, the number of people who are old, people like me, people like my mum, that wanted to do those subjects and were told, no,
mm,
you're not allowed to do those subjects.
yeah,
And I don't know if Willie's watching, but he's noticed, he's one of a colleague of ours, there is a massive trend here. There's so many people out there that are, but it hasn't even changed. It hasn't changed. So, 20, I mean, when I was at school, and I'm old, I mean, I wanted to do art. I wanted to do art A level. I wasn't allowed to do art A level. They
mm,
made me do maths instead. And it hasn't really changed that much. That's the sort of shocking thing, really.
mm,
I think if you're sort of I mean, I wasn't super bright, but I think if you sort of work fairly hard, if you're a fairly good all-rounder, there's this sort of sense of, push them towards the STEM subjects.
yeah,
Because of course
definitely,
that's, go and get a good job, whatever that means. And
yeah. And that's the
I,
thing. I feel like that's the
oh,
thing
he's
within
here. Hi,
education now.
Willie, he's with us.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we need to do a whole session just around this being pushed down a different direction. The fact that my mother, it was happening when my mother was 15. She's 75, and it's still happening. And I found that
mm,
really quite shocking. And the comment has just come in. Yes, it does. It absolutely depends on the school. It depends on the leadership and how passionately the art teachers are. It really varies from school to school. But I
definitely.
mean, luckily for you, Paul, you had at least there was a couple of teachers at the school
Yeah,
that
luckily.
were great advocates, and they supported you, didn't they? So you were able,
Mm,
and I know you're very modest, but you did very well at your A levels, didn't you?
thank you. Yeah, it's I think
You're not
the
going to
difference.
tell them, so you tell them or I'll tell them.
It
You
was
tell
the difference. It was difference between a big difference between my GCSEs and A levels because during GCSEs I was still struggling because of the way I was learning and because I was better at the art subjects and I wasn't as good as
the visual
yeah
learning.
I was more attracted more inclined to visual learning and that
Yeah.
wasn't really provided. It was like you listen, you write, and you listen, you write, and that's the technique. That's how you learn, and that just didn't work for me. And I did later on. I did realize that this is because of dyspraxia, and that's what me realizing that I am more of a visual learner really helped me. But because I realized it a bit late, I feel like my GCSEs, I did struggle with them because I just didn't understand like the way I learned, and doing the GCSEs were really hard for me. But realizing that in year 11 allowed me to make sure that I do accept that about myself, and I realize that this is how I learn, and this is how I will learn in sixth form, and I won't be ashamed that I learn differently, and I'm slower at doing certain things, and I need images to like remember a big amount of text, and I need colors and etc. to be able to learn. So being able to accept that during sixth form really helped me with my grades, and
And
I
I,
done
I share, I share that. I mean, from the time that we've known each other, I'm a dreadful doodler. I scribble my notes. I remember visually.
mm,
Those really annoying people who will, if I'm trying to remember the name of a film, I will say to my partner, my long-suffering partner, I will say, well, it sort of opens with the colours that are sort of red and purple,
yeah.
and there's a bit of music that goes a bit like this, and there's that bloke, that actor who was in that thing that looks a bit like this.
Mm,
It was green, that
yeah,
but
that's the
I'm like,
way I would describe it.
yeah, I know how
And
you
I feel like,
describe
oh my God, sorry, I can't remember the exact name, but I remember this image, I remember this color.
they're
Like, can
dreadful
you?
with written language.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
and
that's
he's
the
actually
thing.
the opposite. He's like a sort of like literally, it's all, and he'll go, and I'll go, okay, actor, label. He'll go, you mean that? And I'll go, you mean that film? I was like, oh yeah, that's
The
it.
perfect balance, yes.
Well, I don't know about that. On that bit anyway, but that whole visual learning thing I think is so important, isn't it? With
Mhm.
with schooling with young people, because so many kids, so many of us, not just kids, so many of us
Yeah,
learn, we remember things visually. And I really wish that I mean, I wasn't anything like you are. I mean, oh God, I mean, you're 19. I can't even begin to imagine what I was like at 19. I'm sure. I mean, I was nowhere near as sophisticated and erudite as you are. But I wish that I had better understood that my own learning style when I was young was also a visual learning style, and even just I think it would have helped me with. I do it instinctively now with my own two little girls. If they're struggling with a maths question, algebra or something, I will draw it for them, and they get it. And I really wish somebody had done that for me at school.
Yeah.
But, no, they didn't. And
done that for you.
And, you know, but I mean, I remember talking to you before, and I loved one of the notes here that I said we must talk about is geography in blue. And as Paul knows, for anybody who's watching, I am channeling artwork.
I love the colour blue. It's been a theme of most of my work recently.
We share a love of colour, Paul and
yeah.
share a passion for colour in different ways. But there's two links there. There's this way of remembering and learning, but it doesn't just work with art, does it? So it also links to a whole range of other subjects. I mean, obviously at the Big Draw, it's interdisciplinary. We work cross-sector. We're not just talking about pretty pictures. It's about visual literacy across all sectors. So it could be architectural drawings, engineering drawings. It could be drawing with light or pixels or leaves or whatever it might be. But the whole point being it's about visual communication and making sense of the world around us through visual communication for our own benefit, but also for others. And I know, Paul, that you're the way that you learn visually and your passion for drawing and sketching out ideas to make sense of them didn't just help you in art, it also helped you in a range of other subjects. This is quite a common thing, and there's tons of academic research on this. But it'd be great for you to share your story about that.
I didn't know about all the research. This just came to me like during A levels, and something that I missed out on GCSEs. And when it came to me with A levels, it had a massive impact to my learning, a massive impact to my grades, and how successful I was within that context. And it was just because I was able to link subjects together and find where they did meet. And with geography, I would just start using colors that I loved in geography, and I would start using that to revise. And for each topic within a geography subject, I would assign it a different color, and that's how I would remember whatever the big text was saying. I would remember the color orange, and the whole text would start flooding in an exam. And that's what I found helpful for me to learn, and that's what I found helpful for me to applicate that in exams, and to be able to do an exam faster, because I was really slow at writing, etc. Being able to receive information just because of colors and images that I just thought of, it just made my process a bit faster, and it just made me enjoy the subjects much more than I did when I didn't use those techniques. So I feel like and then flashcards was a big thing for me as well, colored flashcards. And that was a really good technique for me to revise and just to absorb information through a visual way. Watching different videos. It's just the normal way of learning just didn't work. Listening, writing, it just didn't work for me. I needed to somehow.
The normal way of learning, it's not default learning mode, is it? That's the whole point. Why is that the default learning mode? For who?
Literally.
Just because for certain people it's the default. It wasn't the default learning mode for you, and it wasn't for me. And for hundreds, millions.
And that's probably the issue, because we think it's the normal, it's how everyone should learn. That's why all these other things are disregarded. So I think that's a big thing that needs to be addressed within education. That some students may not learn in these ways that people have been using for years. It has to change. Things have to change. So yeah, that was a big thing for me with geography.
Talked about. There's been a few questions around blue actually, so we should try and thread that out. Is that when we've spoken before and you were talking about your whole geography is blue, and I just love that so much. That's the quote: geography is blue.
Geography is blue.
And I was telling you, I don't know if you knew too much about it before, this whole about synesthesia, and I think that's something that you felt resonated quite strongly in you as well.
when you told me about it, I was like, wow, this actually exists.
It's a real thing.
This is a real thing. This is not just happening in my head. This is actually a thing that people are doing and people are researching and learning about. So you sending that to me was a big revelation for me within that experience I've had learning, and it just gave me reassurance that this is normal. This is how a lot of people do work, and this is how a lot of people do learn. So it does need to be it needs to be added to like education. It needs to be teachers need to know that some students aren't going to learn by looking at the board and writing stuff down. They're going to learn with a visual way of learning. And I think it's also about like I've been looking at neurodiversity and how
Yeah,
everyone's minds work differently, and it's normal the way we are all diverse as human beings. Our brains are diverse. Our brains are all work very differently. So that needs to be embraced, and that needs to it just needs to be part of education.
it
Yeah.
does. I think what they need then. I think that the mayor needs to get you on their youth development forum, don't you? I'll
No.
drop them an email tomorrow. So we were I'm just looking at my notes. So we were talking about visual literacy, dyslexia, talked about geography. Just picking up on a couple of the questions, somebody was asking, what is the apart from geography is blue? Is there any more significance? Because blue does, or blue, I would say turquoise.
Turquoise.
It does feature very heavily in your work.
Yeah.
Does it have any particular significance?
Um.
You do tend to really be very much drawn towards
The
that.
blue. Yeah. With the color blue, it just came to me because I wanted to look into darkness and like shadow and lots of shadow work and like looking into things that people don't normally see and just addressing that part of me through my art, just expressing that part of me through my art as well. Because it's like a not it's like a therapy. It's like art is like you looking within yourself and expressing that to others, and that's blue. The color blue is what best resonated with that for me. I watched a few films that a tutor would suggest to me, which was The Moonlight, and that film was really focused on the color blue, and that's what really inspired me too for my work as well.
Mm.
And I was looking at just like that kind of world of the color blue and how that reflects with like skin tones and how well that goes with each other, and it just became a massive part of my practice. And I think I probably will use blue for much longer until I get tired of it, but I don't think I will. I think that's going to be a massive part of my work for a long time.
I've got
Yeah.
a couple of questions here that just popped up. So there's one about have you studied color and number therapy? And then there was one also around the role of and the value of outdoor learning and outdoor drawing and sketching as well.
Mm.
How do you think?
With I haven't actually really studied color theory, but that's I haven't went deep into it, but that was a subject to be studied GCSE A levels. That's always been something we have to study, just part of the curriculum. So I do have knowledge of color theory, and I feel like having a deeper knowledge of that can be beneficial for learning as well if you want to merge the two. And with I've never heard of what you mentioned about numbers,
Well, I
and I
think in
will.
terms of color therapy is not necessarily color
Oh,
theory,
color therapy. I thought you said color
like
theory.
more color
Sorry,
therapy.
color
So,
therapy.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I suppose it's like if I go and I do love red as well. If I
yeah.
was out with loads of red on, would everyone go, oh look at that harlot?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's more color therapy, or what
Color
I suppose
therapy.
what different colors resonate with in terms
Mm,
of for people in terms of how they perceive color generally. Everyone's got different, as I
yeah.
say, blue is geography is blue. Yes, I think that was more the
Oh,
question.
okay. Oh, I just went on a different tangent then. Sorry, I
So
misheard.
not
But
traditional color therapy in terms of
yeah,
or green and not orange and blue, not that. Much more around how does color resonate with
yeah.
people, how
I
they
think
read.
I have painted. If I painted this whole room like red, I would probably feel really uncomfortable, and that would
Yeah,
really probably affect me in a different way to others. And if I painted it blue, maybe I would like that, but maybe that would be too overwhelming for me. I feel like we're used to like white walls, and we're used to like that's just the norm, and that makes me feel most comfortable because that's what I've seen most. But I feel like the way people relate to colors and how it makes them feel is a really interesting topic to go into, and
yeah.
that's probably why I love the color blue. That's probably why it's such a big part of my work. and how it makes me go into a more spiritual kind of like meditation, all of those things. That's what the color blue takes me to. That's why I use it a lot. So color therapy, I feel like, yeah, that's such an amazing like phrase, and I'm gonna make sure I do more research on it.
I think blue traditionally is, especially a particular type of blue, maybe not turquoise blue, but
Yeah.
I think it is that whole lapis lazuli, that ground down pigment, that hue that they used in the Renaissance, the medieval period. I think that is very much associated with religious paintings and triptychs and Mary.
Yeah, definitely.
It often does have quite a spiritual connotation to it. I think. Yeah, I think quite a calming thing, not just in the Christian culture, but I think across cultures. I think
definitely,
blue is quite a calming, balancing color. But you know, it's obvious from your work that color is important to you just as much as the line is. You know, so just looking at some of the other notes that I've thought about. So we got as far as secondary school. So you did very well at secondary school.
Thank you.
And you got some fantastic grades.
Yeah.
It's not for me to say, but I know you did you did really well. You got some fantastic A-level results. And you carried on and you did a foundation, didn't you? So do you want to talk about that?
So
what happened next?
After sixth form and after A-levels, I went to the Royal Drawing School to do a foundation, and yeah, that was a big part of everything I'm doing now. That was a big part of my practice in it. It made me focus more on like drawing and mark making, and that's where I met you guys as well. So just all that whole experience together was just a big part of my life, I would say. So yeah, RDS was a really good experience for me to have on top of just having really good A levels, because I think it's more about what you create and what you make and how that makes people feel, not your grades, I would say. But if I feel like if I didn't go to RDS, I wouldn't have the same skills and have the same technique I have now. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a highly acclaimed course, isn't it, in the sector?
Yeah.
And obviously you felt it benefited you. So hopefully there might be I'm not sure, there might be somebody on, I haven't seen them, but they may well be on the call today. So but you've come to the end of your foundation at the drawing school, and the very exciting news is you got into one of the best art schools in the country. So do you want to tell everyone a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I after I made my portfolio and I had enough work, I applied to Oxford, and I applied to other universities too. But I wanted to see what was possible for myself, and I wanted to make sure that I tried my best, and I aimed for what is seen as the furthest thing away from me, what is seen as something I can't achieve. So that's just what I wanted to achieve, and that was my intention behind applying there. So, and I did get a place which I'm really grateful for and really happy for. And
it was deserved, Paul.
Yeah,
because it was absolutely deserved. That's why you got.
Thank you. So yeah,
so you start in October.
Yeah, I start in October, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to starting, and I'm really looking forward to developing like what I have now. Oh, thank you everyone that's saying well done. Thank you, Daniel.
Have you seen the hearts? There's loads of hearts coming up the whole time.
Thank you everyone. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, definitely. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. And with like the Ruskins and the drawing school, I know that you guys big draw is linked with Ruskin, so that's a nice merge that I really want to explore too.
We will start to do some plotting, I'm sure, around that point. But for anybody on the call, so for anyone who doesn't know, the Ruskin School of Art is part of Oxford University. It's fantastic college,
everyone.
Dedicated to fine art and drawing, and it's their 150th anniversary this year, founded by John Ruskin, and yes, the big draw has a lot of close links with John Ruskin as well. So I think watch this space. I think we've got some plans, haven't we?
Definitely, yeah.
So, yeah, watch this space on that. So that starts in October. I mean, the other things that I've got on my notes are it sort of threads us almost back to where we started about, and it was I suppose there's two things to thread out. There's the, your desire, and we've talked about this a few times, your desire to, oh gosh, it's that cat again.
My cat is outside, so this won't be happening. He's in the garden.
I had this the other week, and it's not my cat.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not my cat. Actually, this happened with an Instagram live last week, and I crashed the call. It was a bit embarrassing because it's not my cat. Can I just say to everyone on the call, I'm not feeding the cat, I'm not stealing the cat. The cat just comes, and here he is.
Hello. Oh, that's really nice cat.
And he just comes into our old cat flap, so he's not mine. I'm not feeding him, I promise. He just comes.
Sajla, do you see the cat? Sajla has a cat too, and she loves cats.
Yeah. I mean, he lives 4 doors up, and I suspect that the people that live 4 doors up are not into fine art and contemporary. Won't be watching, I hope. But I haven't stolen him, I promise. He likes to come here.
It's nice that you welcomed the cat into the house, because
I'm
aware. Yeah, cats like to go to they like to go into other people's houses too, and they like to visit. Like, they don't like to stay in one place. I know my cat visits my neighbors all the time. Oh.
Anyway, gosh, he's thrown me entirely.
Someone said likes your energy.
I know. Oh, he's up on the street. Come away. You're going to make it all go wrong. Go away. You're not even my pussycat. Sorry.
It's all right.
Where were we up to? He's just totally thrown me. We were talking about Ruskin School of Art. We've moved on, haven't we? I mean, I'd like to pick up on something that you and me have talked about, and I think it'd be great if you could lead on it, Paul, if that's okay. But in terms of underrepresentation in the sector, is that something we've talked quite a bit over the last sort of few weeks and prior when we met before back in January?
I feel like definitely
that is incredibly
and it was a topical conversation when we first met as well that we spoke about, and it's interesting that it's become such a bigger thing and is in the light now due to Black Lives Movement and all these things happening. So I feel like that's a big conversation that needs to be had within the art world and within education, within institutions. And I'm aware that some schools are lacking diversity within staff and within the cohort, within like the students that they do let into the school, which is a bigger issue too. So I feel like what I would say is that I feel like the work that needs to be done is looking for those students, being actively looking for people of color, people of ethnic minority background, etc. Just looking for these students that are creative and do exist. Like, it's not that they don't exist. The UK is very diverse. London itself is really diverse. So it's like these students are out there and they do want to be represented within all these institutions and within the art world as a whole. So yeah, that's a big thing that I want to advocate for within Oxford, which is known for the lack of diversity and which is known for having these issues. So as a person, as a black boy, black man, I want to be able to represent that, and I want to be able to be seen as an example that other people can follow, and other people just to make it aware that people like me, people like you, can be in this institution, can be in one of the best universities in the world. It's not like this is not available for you, this is not possible for you, because it really is. And it's like the idea that this school is only for one type of person has become so normalized that people aren't comfortable applying to Oxford, or not comfortable taking that risk, or it's not even a risk. I feel like it's as easy as applying to McDonald's. I applied to, of course it's not as easy, but it's like, it's not as easy to get in, but it's as easy as it's as easy as taking that jump, just allowing them to know that I want to come here. I want to be a part of this institution. And if you put the work in, and if you know that you have the ability and have the passion for any subject, it's possible for you to go to any of these institutions, Cambridge, Oxford, UCL, all these major institutions that you want to go to. So
yeah, and I think that I think that's what they need. They need you. They need you like you to come in who are passionate, who are young, who are aspirational, who are articulate, who have got this passion. And you're the next generation of the change makers, the makers, the doers, the designers, the artists, the thinkers, the innovators, coming up with the new inventions. As I've got two little girls. They're going to be looking to you and your generation for aspiration, for ideas. So yeah.
So it's important that
incredibly lucky to have you. And,
thank you.
I hope that you will be as vocal as possible.
Definitely.
And we will support you on that.
Thank you. And yeah, like the people that your daughters will look up to need to be representing the whole of London, need to represent all of these backgrounds. I need to have a diverse way of thinking, diverse way of like expressing themselves, and that will be a beautiful thing to absorb and to have just there. So yeah, that's what I hope for.
No, and I know that you're. I mean, we'll allow you to get your feet under the table first. But, we've got plans, haven't we? But I mean, I think yeah. I mean, it's a great opportunity there in terms of developing that championing advocacy role, isn't it? And I know you're incredibly passionate about that, and you want to make a difference, and you already are making a difference.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what else do we need to cover? What have we missed, Paul? So I mean, I've sort of been quite anal going through my notes. I know we've hopped around quite a bit. Let me just, are we all right for time? Because if I don't, I get told off by Sandra. Otherwise, if I don't, we
can look at some of the questions that people are.
We're all right. So yeah, so we've got a little bit of time left at the moment. What was that last one? What's your so yes? So why don't we focus a little bit more on your specific arts practice? So materials. The questions people always want to know is what materials do you use? What brands do you use? What notepads do you use? What paper do you use?
I am. My favorite medium will probably be like oil, acrylics, charcoal. I like to mix those mediums together and see what comes. And yeah, definitely charcoal. I use that a lot because it gives me like an airy kind of feeling that like you can see through it. Kind of, you can see the texture of it allows you to see through it, to see the color I use below it, which is normally blue. So I like that that transparency between the charcoal and using acrylic. I feel like it is less about the person, it's more about the essence of their presence in that space, and that's what my work is truly about. And I am working in a piece now. I'm trying to develop that style as well because it's still something that just started recently during the foundation, and I want to really explore that during Ruskin's. Yeah. Definitely.
And I mean, do you have any particular? Is there a particular brand that you use? People often like to know these sorts of things as well.
No particular brand. Any brand that is available. Like I will go to like Great Art and I'll get lots of acrylics from there. Great Art is an amazing store like you guys can go to get art materials. And yeah, I feel like my point of view is that it's less about the medium and how expensive it is, etc. It's more about how you apply that to the canvas. It's about what you're creating and where it's coming from and how genuine and how honest and how much of you're expressing. And I feel like that's the most important thing about my work. So if someone was to give me a pack of acrylics from any store, like I would still use them. I don't really mind where it comes from. I just mind about what I'm doing with it, what are my intentions with the material.
I think just thinking about your work as well, I mean, it's almost threading us back through to where we started from at the beginning. Your family, the presence of your family is very embedded, isn't it, in your work as well?
Thank you.
You can really feel that. I mean, maybe we could talk a little bit more about that. You can really feel that in the work.
By my family, and really because my family's my sisters have really like installed it in me in a way because of their creativity. It's like it's been given down to me in a way. So.
I'm not sure, but maybe one of your sisters is on the call.
Oh yeah, Barbara Majek. Yeah, you can check her out.
Oh, Bob, I thought she would be. Yeah. I saw her lovely embroidery.
It's
Drawing
amazing,
with
yeah.
thread. I like it. Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
definitely
carry on.
yeah. So I'm really inspired by Barbara. I'm really inspired by Rita, Hannah. Those are my sisters, and I'm like the most of my work is my family. Is from old family photos, family archives that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just ask. I beg my mom, oh mom, can you give me some photos? And like some of the photos are from her family when like my grandparents when she was in Nigeria, and it just makes me connect to that a bit more. Of course, because my mom immigrated from Nigeria to the UK, that I just wanted to kind of connect more with that experience and see how I can explore that within my work and explore myself. But yeah, I'm really inspired by my mom. I'm really inspired by my family, and I'm really inspired by just their presence and how I can translate that through my paintings.
Mm.
Maybe
But I think
right.
you can really feel that through the work. I think that's very clear. So just we need to pull it all together, Paul, don't we? We've got a big thing to pull together. If you were maybe in that period when you were starting to make your GCSE choices, and so I suppose what would that be? 14, 15, something like that?
Yeah, around that age, yeah.
Around that age. What advice and tips? I mean, this is the sort of thing people normally say to somebody when they're about 60. They'd say, "Oh, what would the advice be to your younger self? You're only 19." But if you were wanting to give some advice, some tips to younger people who might be on the call, but even if they're not, the whole point is that we will. This is obviously being recorded. We'll save it and we'll keep it on Instagram TV, but we'll also put it onto Facebook.
Yeah.
Sorry, YouTube. Sorry, so people can look at it and see it as a resource. What advice or tips what would you say to them, given your experience of your personal journey?
I'll let them know that their way of learning is is a way of learning, and it is, especially if they experience if they have dyspraxia or they have dyslexia or they're creatives and they are different to other students, and they may feel uncomfortable within their school. They may feel like they're not they're not good enough, or they're not as smart as other students. Just to know that they are enough, and how they learn is enough, and it is important that they embrace that and they do that, and they make sure their teachers know that this is what they're going through. Even if the student isn't dyslexic or dyspraxic, if you are a visual learner just in general, I feel like you need to embrace that, and you need to allow that to just flow into how you learn, and make sure you use that for your benefit and use that as a superpower, because it is a superpower. And I feel like it was my superpower to be able to use art, and use I done graphic design in A levels as well, and use all these subjects to help me within geography, which is a more subject that people might think,
Mm.
oh, this is not artistic, this isn't a visual subject. How am I meant to enjoy this? But you can, and there'll be subjects like diaspora that I'll be exploring in my art coursework that I would use for my coursework within geography, and I would explore um I'll explore diaspora through research, through all these ways within geography, and I'll be exploring it visually on the other side in art, and it'll just be like all my A levels and all my GCSEs as well. If you're doing GCSEs, all these things are merging together. All these things are one. All these things are just a way of learning, and all these
It's
things.
all interdisciplinary, isn't it? It's all
Yeah,
polymathic. Yes,
literally.
you are the archetypal polymath.
Yeah, so you are in control, like you are you're in complete control of how you learn and what you take and how you learn. Like sometimes I would get in a bit of trouble if I would miss a lesson to go and like to teach myself in a way, like do all these like little techniques that I kind of mustered throughout my experience. I would be getting in trouble, but sometimes that you have to take, if you know that's how you learn, if you know this is not helping you, let your teacher know, or take that time for yourself to learn, to take that time for you to um
Yeah, because
to build up their skills.
I'm really sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Bob. I remember you telling me that the other week, and I remember actually feeling quite sad and quite cross with your
Mm,
teachers. And again, I know I'm just being like an old mum, but when you were saying that, sometimes you'd done the lesson, and then you had to take a step back, and you had to sort of say to yourself, "Well, I'm going to go and take some out of my own other time to
mm,
go over that again in a different way and
yeah,
try to make sense of it for me." Now, of course, we all do that anyway in our own different way, but it seems such a shame that you had to it seems a shame that I suppose it just seems a shame that you had to. They didn't have a broader range of being able to teach in the class.
Yeah.
No, I know that teachers are under a huge amount of pressure. I'm not slagging teachers off. I know how much they have to do and what they have to contend with. But it's, I don't know, it just seems a bit crappy, really, that, you know, you've got a student in a class who goes through the, whatever it is, 45 minutes, whatever, and they're a bit like, yeah, this is fine, lovely, lovely, but actually, I'll wait till it's finished.
I need to go and do this.
I'm going to have to go off and I'm going to have to start my own time. And I just, that's just, yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, it's not.
And I know you did it and it worked for you.
Yeah.
It seems a shame.
But not a lot of teachers, like teachers are doing their best, but I feel like it's just a lack of awareness towards that and towards those people that are different and are learning in this different way. And I feel like if the awareness is built up towards those students, I feel like they would cater to them. They would do all these things, like make sure they're learning more visual, make sure they're using colors, make sure they're using images, make sure they're using videos. Like most of the subjects I learned, I would go on YouTube and I'll watch videos and I'll use my flashcard, I'll use my highlighters and I'll highlight like a madman. And people would think, why is your textbook so colorful? Like, is this part of your art? Is this like, what are you doing? But it's just part of my process.
I can see that one of my colleagues has written, it shouldn't be 100% of teachers. Absolutely not. Teachers do an incredible job under an enormous amount of pressure. It should be embedded within the curriculum and common methodology. I absolutely
definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way to move forward, and that's what needs to be addressed, definitely.
You know, there's still a lot of hearts coming, isn't there?
Oh, thank you.
Hearts are coming out on the screen. So, anything else that you might say to your younger self? I mean,
I would say
you did the foundation year, which
I would make
a lot of people are self-taught. I mean, what would you say to somebody who is sort of thinking, actually, I don't think a foundation, whether it's wherever it might be, there's lots of options where you can do the foundation, but they might be thinking, actually, I don't think a foundation year is right for me. What would you say to them? I mean, in terms of other options?
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good question, because there's even a lot of students that don't want to be artists, they don't want to be fine artists, but they love image making and they love drawing and they love mark making. And I feel like all these things can be taken into every industry and they are needed in every industry, because without them, lots of things won't exist right now. Like their ideas, their way of communicating that through pencil, paper, through any of their mediums is a manifestation of what many companies that exist right now. So I feel like if you have that ability, if you have that superpower, you should use it, and you should use it in whatever industry you want to go into. And if you want to be an artist, if you feel like you don't want to go to a foundation, I really respect self-taught artists. I really respect artists that don't go through institutions, just learn in their own particular way. And I feel like that is a process. That's a journey. That's a journey that is worth taking too. And I really respect that as well, because sometimes
I think that's a really strong message, isn't it? To say to people that, you know, if you are at school, or you know, and you enjoy sketching or scribbling or doodling, or you know, like your mum, knitting, probably like my mum did.
Embroidery. I think that's where my sister got it from, definitely.
Matching 70s home knits. I'll send a few through to you later. All that. I think if you've got that way of thinking and learning, then you're not necessarily going down that whole fine art aesthetically a pretty drawing. I'm not to criticize it in any means. Say that it could be that you're going down an architectural route, or you're going down an engineering route because you love drawing very detailed engineering drawings or architectural drawings, or you could be going into fashion and you're I wanted to go into fashion. I wanted to either be a fashion designer or a barrister. Neither of them happened. Fashion designing, because I liked to, when I was little, I used to draw up the little, on a piece of, we didn't have anything very snazzy then, because it was a long time ago. We would just draw out the dolly, and we put the little tabs around them, and we'd fold them over. So, or a barrister, because I just thought, well, I like arguing, so I can do that. It didn't happen, it ended up somewhere in the middle. Yeah. But it's just thinking about it in a different way, and I think communicating that to young people, that so they don't just think, oh well, I don't paint like, I don't know, we've got some fantastic patrons, so let's just say Quentin Blake. Quentin Blake, or some a very famous artist, doesn't have to be that, does it?
No.
It's about how you use that in a whole range of different disciplines. You know, you could be using it in fashion or design or architecture or modeling or 3D animation, or you could be going into design. You could be using it within textiles, you know, drawing with thread. Looking at you, Barbara. You know, embroidery. You know, it's a whole. I think we need to all of us need to be better communicating that to young people. And
it's not only language. I think sometimes language is flawed. Even though English and writing is amazing, I feel like it's really inspirational. Sometimes I think writing can be language can be flawed, and some people find language within drawing, within mark making, within all these things that aren't really promoted or aren't really given that platform within schools. And if that's you, I feel like you should embrace that fully, and you should go forward with that, because not a lot of people are like that. Everyone probably, lots of people just go down the usual route of like that's what's there for you, and this is the only possibility for you, which is not true at all. I think that's like a false ideology that is
and it limits thinking and options. It's
definitely.
Yeah, anyway, I don't want to get all on my soapbox, but
yeah,
I'm conscious of the time. If I don't click off soon, then we won't save it, Paul, and then I'll get told off by the team. To round off, what would you like to say, Paul, to finish? I mean, obviously, you know, it's so lovely to talk to you. You know, I said to you we'd be short on time, didn't I?
Yeah.
We have to do another one. I don't know. But do you want to, because we need to click off in a minute so we can see
I want to thank everyone for who's joined today, and I just want to leave on the note that like I do want to continue advocating for all these things, advocating for neurodiversity in schools, advocating for different ways of teaching, advocating for like students like me that had a very not the best experience in school, in primary school or secondary school, and I had these one of two teachers that had to like instill this confidence in me, and I feel like it needs to be much better than that, and lots of students need to be given that support and given that opportunity to express themselves visually, etc. And I feel, especially with representation, we touched on the subject of representation. I feel like I want to advocate for that too, and I want to continue putting my energy into showing why that's really important and why that needs to, a lot of energy needs to be put into that, and that's what needs to change too. So
we touched on this before, and I think maybe we need to think about, maybe we need to do a whole new session.
Yeah, definitely.
Thread out that one. I mean, we can talk about that separately. I think,
so these are the things that I want to like address.
Oh, 1:58. You said we have to go, Paul. We have to go.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. See you. Bye. Bye, Kate.
Listen, lovely. Thank you so much for your time. Hope
Thank
you
you.
enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone coming on. Everyone's giving you hearts and saying enjoy.
Thank you, everyone.
And we'll do another one, I'm sure.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye, everyone. Bye, Kate.
Bye.